Anyway, and then they were outside. They started fighting, and all I heard was a bunch of gunshots. And I'm thinking to myself, go get the guns, kids, go get the guns. And then, I don't know, it was a blur, and all I remember is just going inside and locking the doors and telling the kids to stay inside. The cops came, they drove back and forth. They didn't know where the gunshots were coming from. Nobody wanted to turn us in because we were selling all the drugs on the street. They couldn't turn us in. We'd all go to jail and they have no drugs. We had everyone on our street addicted to meth. Just feeding them meth. And anyway, it started to get bad. My baby, he's 3, he was born, and you know, people always say, you know, they took my kids. It's hard to get my kids back. Well, they took my kids. I got reported for neglect, and they called us into court one day, and they told us we had to do UAs. That saved my kids' lives and probably my life. I went in, and I was so scared, you know, and I kept thinking, my kids are going to get taken. They don't deserve this. I did the UA, and we both went to jail, 15 days or whatever they gave us, and they took our kids away, and we got out, and I was thinking, well, there's no kids, you know, we don't have to go home. I'm not going home. I went straight to the casino. I had a bunch of money. They took my money at the PD. I couldn't get back for a week. Good thing I had a casino ticket for $175. So I partied on that all day. I partied, and my grandpa died, and I remember being at the hospital with him, and I was there, and I was just kept thinking, you know, I'm coming down. This is not the time to be coming down when your grandpa's dying. But he passed away that night, and my kids were gone because Elda's grandma passed away the same day in Nevada. Same day our grandparents died, so half of our kids were over there and half were here. And we weren't supposed to have contact with our kids, but Elda's mom had no other choice but to let us watch them. And every now and then she'd let us see them and keep them, and we kept getting in trouble for it, and I just kept partying. It was 6 months before I hate to share this because, Auntie, you didn't know, but Elder got in a wreck on New Year's Day with them on his mom's truck going 80 miles an hour, and the kids were on there, and he was drunk, and he rear-ended a car passing on the highway, and I didn't know about it. Like 3 days later, I heard about it. One of my kids came with their grandma. Maybe it was the 2nd of January. One of my kids came over and said, Grandma said that we have to stay here. And I said, what? And I told him, no, I'm drinking. You guys can't stay here. You guys got to go. Call your grandma and tell her to come pick you up. And then Yvonne said, or one of the boys said something, and it was something about the wreck, and Dad was in jail and he couldn't watch him. And I said, what wreck? And they told me that they were on New Year's Day. They were going to Madras with their dad and their older brother, and they were all drinking together, and their grandma and grandpa were drunk, and they were passing a car, and the car put its brakes on because they were speeding and swerved in front of them, and they hit them, and the babies weren't buckled up, and my son, if he wouldn't have been on there, his little brothers would have went flying through the windshield. He said that we hit that car hard, and then the babies flew forward, and I grabbed them and held on to them so they wouldn't fly out the window. And I thought about it, and I called their grandma, and I said, why didn't you tell me this happened? And she said, it's none of your business. Aldo's in jail. It's going to be taken care of. He's going to pay for what he's done. And I thought, you know, if they're not safe with their grandma, they're not safe with anybody. I called Lita that day, and I said, Lita, I'm ready to sober up. And she said, what? And I said, can you come get me? I'm at my house. She goes, why don't you just stay there? I said, I can't stay here. Everybody's here, and they're all high. I just want to leave. She said, okay, well, I'll come get you. So she picked me up, and it seemed like the longest days ever just trying to sober up. And I told her, gee, I kind of don't feel like I should be here either. I might run off with Kennedy and get high. And every time someone would knock on the door, oh, is that Kennedy? I was just worried. When's Kennedy going to get here? She tells me, make a bed. Well, I told her I was scared to sleep. So we went to my house and grabbed this little mattress and took it over. And she said, make a bed right there on the floor. So I made a bed and I was tossing and turning and I told her, I kept telling her, I think I want to go to the casino. You're not going nowhere, just go to sleep. And it was a few days and before I heard Aldo was out of jail, and so Lita said, shall we take a ride over to Madras to look for him? I said, look for him? To do what? Beat him up? Kill him? And then so we went over to Madras and we were driving around on all those back roads because at that time he was being a road warrior over there. And we were looking with no Aldo. So we went back and I spent the night, and the next day I said, I think I can go home. I think I'm ready to go back home and maybe go see my kids. And so I go home and Aldo's mom comes and she says, Della, is it all right if Aldo can come here? He's not allowed at our house. His dad don't want him there for what he's done. He can't be there. And I look at her and I am thinking, gee, I really don't want him here. I'm mad. I said, I really want to hurt him. He could have killed my kids. You know, I know I'm careless too. And anyway, I said, okay, well, as long as he doesn't try to drink here, because I'm trying my hardest to sober up. It was barely a few days, 4 days. And she says, okay, Aldo, you can't drink here. Drops him off. The first day was all right. He just slept and didn't drink. And then the next day, she let us use her truck to do some things. And he came straight to Rainbow. From after we dropped her off, came straight to Rainbow and bought a beer. And I told him, you need to drop me off at my house. I'm not going to do this with you no more. And he looks at me and he goes, what? And I said, I told you, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to be around alcohol. I'm trying to quit. And you know, I attempted to quit several times before, so it was normal for me to say I was going to quit and then not quit. Well, then he didn't drink the rest of the drink that beer. And then he said, I told him, drop me off at home.
Grandma said you're getting husk.
I don't want to be around you.
A what?
So he goes, he drinks it, and we finish doing what we're doing, and then I said, okay, I'm ready to go home. So I go home.
I'm fake. No, I'm not fake. I am not fake.
I'm not going to drink no more, I promise you. And I said, you always say that. Anyway, that first week was hard for him. So he drank a lot every day. I just kept thinking, it's not going to last long, you know. My sobriety will probably last a month, and I'll have to get high.
Yeah.
That month went by, and I was in PTS every day trying to...
I don't want your cigarette on my eyeballs. Hello, guys. Let's look at this game.
From there, you know, and I was at any quick services I could do. Anything that would keep my mind off of drinking and getting high, I did. I let me start keeping my kids for the weekends, and I kept feeling being sober with them and being able to do things. Being able to we had no contact with them. Didn't want us to be in contact with them. Anyway, I worked my way towards getting them all into my house. It took me 60 days to get them back from when I sobered up. So it's a lie when people say they can't get their kids back, that CPS and everybody's keeping them from them, because it only took me 60 days, 30 days to get them in my house for temporary custody and weekend visits, and then 60 days to get them all back into my home. And after that 60 days, I kept thinking, I don't want nothing to happen because I don't want to jeopardize them getting taken away again. 60 days passed, and I had my baby back. He was in a foster home. I had only seen him 3 times. After they got taken away in that 6-month period, I only seen him 3 to 4 times. Anyway, I got him all back, and I just kept thinking I would have people stop by and, you know, bring drugs and try to get me high, and I'd tell them, no, I'm not doing it no more, and everybody thought I was bullshitting. They were like, oh, just gotta go show up at Della, she'll fall for it. Anyway, like Elda said, I got a message from my drug dealer who used to supply everything for free. An ounce a night he would give us, and we'd make $1,900 a night. And he messaged me and he told me, he said, it was out of the blue too, because I never keep in contact with him. Aldo blocked him. Aldo pulled a gun on him and tried to kill him, and the kids were in the car. And they were at the casino, and Aldo was pulled up, and he said, we're going to do a drive-by on Carlos. That's his name. Oops. Anyway. No, that's not his name. So, these kids came home talking about it, that they were practicing at the dump on the TVs, the broken up TVs, that one of the kids were driving and their dad was out the back door and he had the gun out and they were practicing to kill him. And right then and there, I alerted him and I told him what was going on. I said, if you know what's good for you, you'll leave Warm Springs and stay away from here because they're trying to kill you. He didn't know who I meant by there, but Aldo had my kids involved. He said, thank you, and all honestly, your family was what convinced me to stop. I always looked at the potential of the family and not the money. I'm glad it all happened. Which as in, he meant when Aldo tried to kill him. And he messaged me out of the blue, and I told him, I said, I'm sober, what are you doing, what do you want? And he said, I just want to tell you that you guys are the ones that gave me hope to get out of the game. My whole family does it. He said, I quit, and I'm not going to do it no more because of you guys. And that really touched me. And he said, maybe sometime I can come down and we could go fishing. We can all go fishing with your kids, because he would come and spend a lot of time with us. He was there when my youngest son was born. He came to deliver the drugs to the hospital. And I'm like, what's Carlos doing? He comes in with toys and balloons, and then he leaves. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, and he came to see the kids all the time, would bring stuff. He was just a nice person. I always thought, well, I guess he's got to be nice. We're making money for him. But I never thought. Yeah. Thank you.
Dang, put me on blast. You ever go to those meetings? We went to Best Care, and then they were saying, well, because me and my wife did it together, but they were like, no, you guys can't be in the same room. You guys can't do groups together. So she was ahead of me, but she needed one more, and so they allowed her to be in the same group as my group, And if you understand the groups, it's like, those are your people, Della had her set of people, and then she comes into my group, and, I'm like, telling them how my life is, and then she puts me on blast right away, and she's like, no, he did this, and he did that, and I'm like, what? This is someone right in a meeting? And then the guy gets up, and he's like, Della, Aldo, that's why married couples are not allowed to be in the same groups, just because of this situation. So, man, that was hard. And the whole thing about 17, I didn't even know she was 17, all right? I'm just letting it out there. They're trying to put me on blast on that. Like, come on now. Because she had her oldest son, and so, we was partying around, and, I just wanted to be friends. Let's let that be known. And then she's like, oh, I live out in Siksika. I didn't even know where Siksika was. I thought that was, by Bend. And then she's all, come out to my house. I got my house, my son, my sister. We all stay in this house. And, whatever. He knows. All right. You guys having a good time? Yeah. We could cry together. We could laugh together. We're having a good time. This is a beautiful event. I know my brother Josh would like to come up and say a few words. Josh Poitras, give him a round of applause.
Next day I ended up in Nara. My dad took me up there, dropped me off, and the best advice he'd give me at the time was, don't come back. And I took that advice to heart, and I'd barely even come back here. I'd come back to visit maybe Christmas, I'd go back over. So within that time period, I accumulated 5 years being sober, and I'd done it all on, I guess, my own ego, my own trip. I had a good counselor at the time, and she taught me how to flip the script and use my own attitude, my own anger and pride, and how to flip it and keep myself clean and sober that way. And I ran with that, and I did it. So long story short, so I accumulated 5 years, and I had a good job, I had the car, I had the beautiful woman, I had the money, powwow group, did all that, and it just didn't seem like enough. And one day I relapsed after 5 years. I said, you know what, I'm doing really good, I have all these things. It was all materialistic crap I didn't even really need. So yeah, I had a beer, and after that, I thought I could control it. I thought that I could go to work, come back home, have one, but I never stopped at one. I'd go to 2, 3, 4, then finally I was buying a case every night after work. It actually wasn't even night, it was actually early in the morning, like right at openings. And because of what was going on, my spouse left me. And I don't blame her for that. She had her own reasons to do it. And me, I didn't quit. I kept going with it. And I was telling one brother this morning that a lot of what I've been through, I do believe it's Creator's tests. Not only with my sobriety, but also in my addiction. I used to be a very prideful man, and I still have some ego today, but I used to have a lot of ego. But the more clean time I got, the more ego I got. And it's like, I always wanted to be in the limelight. I always wanted to be that person talking and saying something, thinking that I can say a positive message. And I really wasn't doing a whole lot of a positive message. I felt like more like I was preaching. Like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, just pray about it. And, finally it dawned on me one day in my addiction, and I went back out for that 2 years. I moved to Michigan, and I was over in Michigan for a year. Things are way different over there, I tell you that. Swimming in snow over there. Anyway, I didn't like it, so I moved back over here to Oregon. I got back into Nara. I took my program from the beginning again. And this time I started doing my steps, started talking to a counselor, started using a phone list. And I found that stuff worked for me. Because when I accumulated those 5 years, I didn't do any of that. I didn't do a 12-step program. I didn't call out. I didn't reach out. I didn't reach out to any men. I figured that what I was going through, I could handle it on my own. And all of that did for me was just build resentments, build more anger towards people. And eventually that's what took me out too. All my leftover feelings, everything that I stuffed and bottled up, thinking that I can get by. Today I do run a 12-step program. I run it through Sobriety. I go over it with my counselor. Every time I have a one-on-one once a week, I can write my feelings out on paper. And I know it'll be safe with him. And I come to find out, I have a lot of character defects that I don't like. And there's a lot of stuff about myself that I don't like. But that doesn't stop me, because once I see these character defects on paper, I have the opportunity to change them. So that's what I do today. I do the different from what I used to do 5 years ago. I found the Sobriety Red Road about maybe 2 years ago. I had a phone call one day, hey, you should come out and drum with us, and you're a singer. I'm like, yeah. But mind you, I had ego, I felt like, if they really need me that bad, they'll call me, they'll come talk to me. But that's exactly what they were doing, though. They were calling me, they were talking to me. But I just had that ego and was like, nah, it's all good. Another group come and gone, another group come and gone. But I'm really glad to see that the movement has actually picked up. There's a lot of people getting involved. A majority of us right now are Warm Springs people that come from here, And it's really good to see that. You know, a few of the guys here in the program right now I used to use with. You know, one was my neighbor. One guy stayed on the street. Another one I ran to Washington with more than a few times. You know, and it's good to see these guys doing really well. So for me, it's fun.
Oh, can I have this one?
Hey, there goes. Look, small.
Is there any small?
It's really hard to humble myself to go back to because I used to look for it.
Do you think this one could fit me?
Called Super Concern. It was really hard to go back. Just to walk through that door.
Asking you this.
Can't we just get
But it was humbling and what I needed for me to start a new journey today. Without that, I believe that, you know, I probably would have kept that ego and I probably would have kept that mindset. Today, I'm really glad that I'm working on my thought process because that old way of thinking just does not work for me today, you know, and I used to be very racist and I used to always say I can't cut corners and I'd be very stuck on what I was taught as a child. But today I can change that and I'm very proud of myself that I can. First time I even touched the drum again was back in 2010. I honestly didn't even think that I could do it. I doubted myself that I could even sing. I doubted myself that I was even worthy of even touching the drum. And it turns out that wasn't Creator's idea. That was my own idea of myself. That was the way I thought about myself. Today, you know, I love to sing. And I sing with a really good drum group today. You know, we go out to powwows through Oregon and Washington. You know, and I also sing with Albrighty. You know, wherever I'm asked to be at, I go. I don't ask questions. I don't ask who's going. I just go. You know, I'm grateful to my mother because she talks to me about spirituality. Her and my uncle, they sit me down. Even when I'm trying to bullshit them and just like, oh, everything's fine, they talk anyway. And it's weird because they can pull that out of me. Like, all right, I'm not fine. You know, this is what's going on in my life. This is why I'm struggling. You know, and yeah, it was hard waking up at 4:30 this morning. You know, get on the bus and get all the way up to 92nd. But I did it and ran into another brother on the way up, and I'm not a good time.